Good morning, Wellspring. My name is Judy Bethman, and I'm part of your Sunday service team. We have a few announcements. Early birds meet Sunday morning at 9:30 via Zoom. Link is in the weekly email and on the website, and they are studying The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This Wednesday is a board meeting at 6:30 via Zoom. We encourage all people to attend. We have 3 board openings in February. Your role, what is your role in Wellspring Church? If Wellspring is to thrive, time investment in the operations of the church needs to be placed on everyone's shoulders. Please search your heart. All right, the upcoming speakers are, well, today we have Dr. Burlbaw. Next Sunday we have Reverend Kamatara. Okay. Then on the 19th, Peggy Shin. On the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, we're going to have a combined service with Unity and CSL, and we will have ours live in-house here, but it'll be via Zoom as well. And then the last Sunday of the year, Dr. Burlbaw. All right. Mesilla Valley Chorale is in concert next Sunday at 3 o'clock at the Rio Grande. Tickets are $10, and I already sold 2 this morning, so yahoo. So get tickets from me. It is a different group since Nancy has gone to the great chorus in the sky. So, and lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit a request via our webpage. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know we are one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. All right, let us sit back and breathe out. Let all the stress and cares of the week evaporate. When you breathe in that life force, which is part of the Great Spirit. We meet today in person and online with a tremendous sense of gratitude. We acknowledge and affirm that the One, the Omnipotent, and the Omnipresent is all and the everything. The one source is flowing in, through and around this building, our homes, and each and every one of us here today, and those who aren't here. We know that love, peace, and joy is expressing itself magnificently in each of us today and every day. We open ourselves to receive the gifts of today's service as we share our loving energy as well. And so it is. Okay, now stand if you are able, and I'm going to teach a little music here. Oops. Thank you. In music, if we were reading a score form, this is a repeat sign. So we are going to repeat between the dots, okay? Now, we have not done this song in a long, long time. I don't know if we've all forgotten it or what. But the chorus is easy. I'm going to teach you the chorus first. Okay? Barry, let's just start on the chorus. Just listen to the chorus. The chorus is... For the world of abundance rather than, oh dear heart. Okay, so, okay, I'm going to teach it to you, and then I'll sing the verse, and then you'll sing the chorus with me, okay? No, don't even look. But I had those beautiful repeat signs. Okay. All right. Yes, I'm going to teach in the chorus. For I live in a world of abundance, in a true never-ending source from above. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with life overflowing and a heart full of love. Not too hard. So it's, I live in a world of abundance, in true never-ending source from above. I live in a world of abundance, with life overflowing and a heart full of love. Let's try it. For I live in a world of abundance, in a true never-ending source from above. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing and a heart full of love. I am so grateful for this life I have to live. Oh, I am so grateful for all I have to give. For I live in a world of abundance, in true never-ending source from above. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing and a heart full of love. I am so grateful, for I know my path is blessed by love, so full and graceful I can trust in every step. For I live in a world of abundance, in true never-ending source from above. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing and a heart full of love. Repeat. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, in true never-ending from source from above. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing and a heart full of love. Very good. You may be seated. I'm getting discombobulated all over the place here. All right. We are now going to our vision, mission, and affirmation statement. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: I acknowledge Spirit in the midst of us, expressing as you, as me. I accept the all good coming my way, bringing the abundance of the infinite oneness into my life experience. I release all that is less than the magnificence of the Christ within, and extend love, peace, joy every day in every way. And so it is. And it's my happy pleasure to present Irene Brink for her first number.
If I had ever been here before, I would probably know just what to do. Don't you? If I had ever been here before and another time around the wheel, I would probably know just how to deal with all of you. For I feel like I've been here before. Feel like I've been here before, and I know it makes me wonder what's going on. Oh, inside my mind. Ooh, do you know? Don't you wonder? What's going on inside your mind? We have all been here before. 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 We have all been here before.
Thank you, Irene. Our reading today is from Practical Metaphysics by Eric Butterworth. The desire to be more. In every person there lives an image of what he ought to be. As long as he's not that image, he'll never be at rest. This is a poetic thought of Friedrich Rickert. It's very likely that you are reading this book, well, I'm telling you the book, because you have a desire to grow. You may not be consciously aware that this is your motivation in picking it up, but secretly within yourself, there's a tremendous desire to be more. There's a feeling of inability to rest content with what you are. This is what I call divine discontent, and it's restlessness which is a part of the lives of all of us. Intuitively, you know that there is more in you. Probably all that we can do is serve as the midwife to help you give birth to that more. And so it is. And now we'll bring Dr. Burlbaw to the podium.
Well, Judy, I see you left your papers up here and your money, and I'll try not to carry it down with me when I come. I do remember.
I had to go back again.
Well, also last time I picked your papers up and took them back with me. So we'll try to get our stuff together a little better today, right? Well, today's topic is, where have I heard this before? And I might say there's two ancillary statements, was where have I seen this before? And where have I experienced this before? So as you all know, we do coordinate the music with the talks, and good choice, Barry and Irene, and also wonderful music. Thank you. And before I dig too deeply into today's topic, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking on, does anybody remember what that is or was? Is your memory your friend or a foe? Remember? And I think I spoke about my experience as a child with this Doberman that came up and scared me, and ever since then I've been, and I was talking about this, I think I heard myself say, oh, sounds like I have some work to do. Imagine that, right? So since then I have been working on this, and shall we say revisualizing or reprogramming my memory. And I do this whenever I see a dog or whenever I think about it, and sometimes as I'm going to sleep I try to revisualize the memory, to try to move that out of there. I'd say the progress is a little slow, but it is progress. So thank you. I'm grateful for that. So have any of the others of you had a thought that you wanted to reprogram or tried to reprogram? Okay, so good. Just asking. I'm glad you're doing it. You know, when the speakers put together their Sunday topic, sometimes I think we're writing for ourselves. You know, it's, in a way, we're vocalizing or remembering lessons that we've had or experiences. And so preparing the message is actually kind of a growth experience for us. And while we're not absolutely selfish about what it is we're doing, it sort of ends up becoming part of our spiritual practice to prepare, or at least for me, to prepare these. And, you know, at the same time, I'm hopeful that, and I'm sure the other speakers are the same, that what we have to say might land on fertile ground somewhere. And we hope that it's of use to other folks. So anyway, enough of that. Thank you for the reading. I want to reiterate something from the reading. Remind us of that one phrase, the divine discontent. And that's what causes us to grow. Gosh. He said, Butterworth said, we know there is more to us than we are expressing at this moment. I'm adding that. And Holmes says that we're here to gain soul experience, right? And I've said that a number of times, and I don't know how many times Holmes said it, but anyway, I think that as this urge or desire to gain soul experience, it creates an internal, and it's not, but not always necessarily recognized, pressure to gravitate toward growth opportunities. That almost sounds like a curse, right? Because we know that growth opportunities tend to be associated with maybe a little bit of pain or discomfort. For sure, growth opportunities are associated with change. I think we tend not to like change, but I'm not sure. I mean, we want to change. We say we want to change, but when it gets right down to us, it's not that welcome in our psyche to have to change. But anyway, we have this pressure to do that. So, what is spiritual growth? And kind of through the years, in my mind, it's evolved. But here's some thoughts that I wrote down and some things I've read elsewhere. It said spiritual growth is awakening as if from a sleep or we might call it spiritual evolution or spiritual maturation. The idea of advancing or acquiring the ability to perceive differently, or a lot of times we'll say we've taken steps in some direction, or we've climbed to a new level, or maybe it's a process of being renewed, or it might be remembering who we truly are. And I think maybe originally, I thought of growth as finding or learning something new. You know, we picked up a book, we read it, and it's like, oh, that was completely new to us. But now, and maybe this is true for most of us, we realize it's more toward the awakening or the remembering concept, because what we talk about trying to find that us, it's always been there. We've never been not us. We've never been not a spirit in that sense. So whatever we call it or however we choose to describe it, I've broken this down into like 3 phases of growth within another 3 phases, kind of like Russian nesting dolls. And so I'm going to talk about the inner 3 phases first. And the first phase is the recognition or awareness phase. Generally, you know, prior to this, we don't even realize we have a problem, right? Everything's cool. And then some kind of an intervention occurs. Now, you know, in the drug addiction world or alcohol addiction, we talk about the family getting together and, you know, all right, Joey, you know, you've got a problem. It's like, oh, you know, kind of thing. Well, it may not be exactly that, but before that intervention, the addict or whatever, the user, doesn't even recognize or think that there's a problem with themselves, right? All the difficulties that they're having in their life, the pain that's associated with it, that's all someone else's fault, right? And I'm the victim to all the stuff that is happening to me. It has nothing, you know, this is not me speaking about Edward, but and, you know, it's this external world that somehow is hurting me. So since I don't believe in victimhood, that is not in my consciousness. But occasionally I do kind of slide into that. And when I catch myself going, oh, I'm feeling sorry for myself, or I'm acting like a victim. Duh. You know, you don't believe in that, Edward. Okay, so it means it's something for you to take care of. And so, anyway, we say that a person or ourselves won't change until we recognize there's a problem, and then second, that it's theirs or ours. You got to recognize, you got to own it, right? Until that happens, this change your thinking, change your life, or any of our precepts or concepts or mantras that we use in New Thought, they're not even in the consciousness of the individual. It's just not there. But anyway, eventually, because of the external or internal forces, we decide we need to do something about the problem. Perhaps the pain gets great enough that we decide to address the issue. Anyway, at that point, we've decided to do something to change. And that, to me, ends the recognition or awareness phase, and it moves on to phase 2, which is I call time to do the work. So once we've set the intention, we unconsciously begin to bring the situation to front and center, whatever that may be. We know it's a growth opportunity. It can be people, it can be emotions, it's anything. So at that point, we look it in the eye and we have a decision to make. It's like, okay, are we going to change it or not? The choice is ours. While in phase 1, we've been reacting to what's going on in our life, kind of without even thinking about it. It's this happens, you punch them in the nose or whatever. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, you run them off the road. I mean, that's very, very reactive. And, I kind of thought we were beyond this, but the other day I was talking to somebody, and they said, you wouldn't believe what happened to me on the way to work. And they went through this entire drama. This person followed them. Actually, it wasn't on the way to work, but it followed them to where they were going. It pulled into the parking lot. This person got out and he started screaming at him. I thought, holy smokes. I thought we were kind of civilized enough that all we did was give them the salute or something. But no, I mean, this really happens out there. So anyway, at this point in phase 2, we begin to see the situation for what it is, that it's something that we're interested in working on. And maybe sometimes, we set this intention, like, oh, I want to work on that. And then it sneaks up on us, and it happens. And we react exactly the way we used to before we were aware of it. But the difference is after the fact, at least for me, I go, oh, yeah. That was what I was going to work on. And now, here it came, and I blew it. But you know what? That's part of the first step. You recognized that that was something that you were interested in working on and needed the improvement. So recognition, so be grateful for that. Anyway, that's kind of the oh shucks. I just did that thing that I wanted to work on. Oh well. And that's where this idea, what I'm going to call the spiral, comes in. So we got through the situation and we recognized we didn't handle it the way we wanted to. So don't worry, it'll be back. It'll come around again to give you an opportunity, and I'll say to respond rather than react. So just have that gratitude that you recognized the situation, even if it was after the fact. Because you know that a number of years ago, you wouldn't even have recognized it. It wasn't even in your mind to do something different. So, as I mentioned, the spiral, there are a number of analogies that might come to mind. We know that every December we have the meteor showers, right? And the reason that is that the Earth is going in its orbit around the sun. It's in the part of the solar system where there's a bunch of dust. And so, come December, the meteor showers, the meteors, the dust hits the atmosphere, burns up, and we see the meteors. Right? So that's one kind of circular thing that we see as happening. And maybe you could think of it as a journey around a mountain. So you're taking this spiral around the mountain. Well, you come back kind of to the same place you were before, except you're a little higher in altitude. So the view is the same, but you're a little higher up and you have a different perspective on what's going on. So I think most of us accept that this growth is cyclical rather than some kind of a straight line. It's not a ladder. It's not a linear kind of thing. You're always making progress no matter what happens. So it's more like a winding staircase or a helix, or it could be, well, I'll talk about that later, the helix. So that brings back to mind the title of the talk. Where have I heard this before? Where have I seen this before? Or where have I experienced this before? Well, on the last lap around the mountain, you experienced it before. But each time it comes around, we're likely to have learned to handle the situation better, and we can observe the growth that's occurring. Less and less of a reaction and more of a response. Last Sunday, Peggy Shin talked about the doobie. I don't remember how many there were, but I think she said it's neither constant do nor constant be. There are pauses between, and so it's the same thing with working on an issue. There are pauses. You do the work, and then you. It's not like just continually doing that. It's sort of like breathing. You can't breathe in all the time, and you can't breathe out all the time. Sometimes you breathe in, sometimes you breathe out. Okay, I refuse to lick my finger. Eventually, we feel like we finally overcome the issue or the hang up, and now we can sanely deal with the situation when we see it again. And so then I say we move on to out of phase 2 into phase 3. And I call phase 3 the checkup. I feel, it's been my experience, that there's always one more visit with or from the situation. You get an opportunity. If we've truly completed phase 2, we might recognize that and go, oh, there's old Frank again. No big deal. Hi. Or whatever. No reaction to it. Just, okay, that's that. We don't have the gut wrenching or clenching associated with that. So we can just bless it and be grateful that we don't react to it any longer. And that is if we're truly if we've truly completed phase 2, we're in phase 3. If we can't just smoothly experience it, pass over it, then I guess we're still in phase 2. But the nice thing is it really doesn't matter, because you're always going to complete it eventually. And then one day you'll realize that experience or that situation never shows up again. Oh, you know, I haven't whatever in years. So I think that's kind of neat about that. So in this case, we've completed our 3 phases: the recognition or awareness, the work, and the checkup, as I call it. And that's what I was calling the inner group. Now, I think the outer group, which I'll discuss here, is where the divine discontent perhaps comes into play. So the first phase of the outer group revolves around the concept of life being earth school. So in phase A, prior to incarnation, this doesn't require you to believe in reincarnation. I say you just have to believe in pre-incarnation, right? We do some planning with our spirit guides and our teachers and so forth. And at that point, we set our intentions for this incarnation. We want to accomplish certain things. We make contracts with certain other souls, and how we're going to interact with them, when we may run into them, and so forth. And we also set these waypoints. At some time in our life, we're going to be walking across the plaza in Milan, Italy, and we're going to see a woman in a beautiful red hat. So don't forget that. And that gets in here, and when we're walking across that, we see that, as a male, whatever, it doesn't matter, but we see that woman with a hat, and we go, aha. We have a reason to talk to that person. And it sort of brings to mind that contract that we had with them. The book, The Little Soul and the Sun, describes one such agreement and scenario. And many of you have heard me read parts of that. But basically, that's talking about the little soul who wanted to come down to earth to learn how to forgive, to learn forgiveness. But since everywhere the soul looked were other brilliant light beings, there was no way for them to learn forgiveness. And so another soul volunteered to come down to earth with the little soul and be that person that the little soul could learn to forgive. And so the little soul, the other soul, was going to be probably a little bit ugly to the little soul. And they also said, but don't forget, even though I have lowered my vibration so that I could be this ugly, mean person for you, for your benefit, I'm still a light being inside. But anyway, enough of that. So I'm going to move now from phase A to phase B, our incarnation. And it involves many spirals or many helices. And I thought it's kind of like a box of springs. And you throw a bunch of springs in a box, and they're all laying against each other, and they're just in disarray. So our life is kind of that way. We may think, oh, we're going to work on this problem. Well, you're working on that problem, and this one's kind of coming over here. You get an opportunity to work on many of them at the same thing. It's kind of like you're in one of these springs, and you're running into another spring or what have you. But anyway, so during this phase, we meet all the folks that we've agreed to work with, and we encounter all the situations that are appropriate to overcome what it is we've agreed, or the challenges that we've intended to overcome. So we start to fulfill the contracts that we made in phase A. Now, probably some of us have a car that we ought to wash, right? And every time you go out to get in the car, you go, I should really wash that car, but I don't have time right now. Or maybe they need to do something with the yard. And every time you look out in your backyard, you realize you need to pick those weeds, or you need to do that. So I'm going to say this kind of pressure is very similar to this divine discontent that we're talking about. We've come here, we've got this box of contracts and issues. Sometimes we don't really want to look at them. But yet, the pressure is such that we will look at them eventually. Hence, we start dealing with the issues in the box, if you will. Now, I kind of back up a minute, and I say this is kind of a mental construct that I'm drawing out here, and that's all it is. And even if it seems like malarkey to you or isn't something you can believe in, it doesn't really matter. Because Michael Singer, we were reading his book a while ago on the untethered soul. He says, exactly what you need, I'm paraphrasing, exactly what you need for your next step is presenting itself at the exact right moment. We've all said when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Is a teacher a person, or is a teacher a thing? Is it a book? Does it have to be another person? Perhaps the teachers ourselves. At any rate, I believe that we have arranged everything that we need to successfully accomplish what we've come here to accomplish in our stage 2. And I imagine we've all had experiences where we think or feel like we've been here before, right? I think it was, well, anyway, in the past, we always referred to those as deja vu experiences, right? And where does that fit into? I mean, it was kind of a thing in the hippie era, right? Well, I don't know. I heard about that. So in my mind, when our current living or our current life encounters one of these waypoints that I was describing earlier, be they people, places, or things, we could have a deja vu experience. We'd say, but we don't realize that it's what it is that we had already planned. To me, years ago, I came to my own conclusion that it was a confirmation that somehow I had been here before, or then as I got more enlightened, realizing that maybe I had planned this, that I was on the right track. I was hitting one of these waypoints that I had set up for myself. Kind of like an aha moment. All right, so enough of the box with the springs in it, right? So let's say we move on to the next phase. We complete that. We're on phase C, completion. So we've completed all of our contracts. All the springs are either lined up perfectly in the box or they're totally out of the box, whatever, however you want to visualize this, but you're done with all of that. How do we know when we've completed everything that we came here to do? Well, the simple fact is, if we're completed, we can leave this incarnation, right? Someone once said and then asked a question, says, I feel like I've completed everything I came here to do. Why am I still here? It's like, well, you know, if we go on Loving What Is, Byron Katie, fact that you're here means that you haven't completed everything you came to do. But this person was thinking about having to overcome all of these hang-ups or what have you. And they were feeling pretty comfortable and weren't running into any of these spirals. So my thought on that is that maybe you've completed all of your hang-ups, you've resolved all those, but you still have gifts to give. Maybe that's why you're still here. Now you are a more clearer being and you can give more unconditionally. Anyway, I just my rambling about that, but just because life is going well, I mean, most of us here are of mature age, and we're not dealing with, I mean, I work in an office where we have some young folks, and the drama is just amazing. I go, oh my gosh, I'm glad my kids are older. Oh my God. So anyway, so nowadays, maybe it's not so much dealing with the ex or the teachers or all that kind of stuff, but we're just here, if nothing else, to extend love and be a beacon of love. Or maybe as simple as holding consciousness for the planet. All we know is we're still here. So whatever mental construct or paradigm you want to use to describe life and spiritual growth, no matter how you interpret whatever it is or however it is we bring these into our experience, exactly, I say what we need at the moment is right here, right now. And it's the perfect moment. I think that's pretty wonderful. Yeah. So imagine living with this confidence always. It's kind of like the book Eckhart Tolle, maybe it's living in the now. We know that we're in the right place, the right time. Everything that's happened is exactly what's supposed to be happening. And it's just the perfection of our unfolding, of our blooming, of our blossoming, or what have you. So it is. So, yes. Now let's have a prayer. Are we going to do the thing, Barry? Well, now that Barry's got the keyboard, he can minimize the sound. And so as he's getting set up there, we always come into our prayers with a sense of gratitude. If nothing else, we can be grateful that we are here today, that we have a roof over our head in the sanctuary, we have a roof over our head at home, we have a body that works for the most part. We have friends, we have family, we have a community here with us and on Zoom. Hi, Zoom. So let's just take this moment now to acknowledge that God is all there is. Spirit, the allness, the everything, whatever you want to call it, that is all there is. And that energy, that infinite potentiality is there. We are a part of that. We are tapped into that. We cannot disconnect. We cannot separate ourselves from that, no matter how hard we try, no matter how hard our ego tries to tell us differently. We are connected with that oneness. We are the drop of water in the ocean. We are part of that consciousness. And from that point of knowingness and that point of consciousness, we turn our thoughts to the understanding that there are friends and family, members of our community that are in situations right now that they've asked for prayer work. They've asked for help. They've acknowledged that this help is there and available for them, and they have availed themselves of that. And by placing that into intention, we know that that is fulfilling, that is operating in their life, that is moving through them and bringing them exactly what it is perfect for this next step in their evolution. We hold that for ourselves as well. Maybe we aren't suffering in any great way, but we just hold that for ourselves, that perfection is unfolding for each and every one of us in each and every one of our lives. So we give thanks for that, and we just know as we have placed this into the intention, into the mind that is being operated on, we can release it. We don't have to know exactly how it's going to happen, because that is for God to deal with. That's God's job. So we just release it, we let it go, and we say, and so it is. And now we have some more music. I'm looking forward to it.
When you're awake, the things you think come from the dreams you dream. Thought has wings, and lots of things are seldom what they seem. Sometimes you think you've lived before all that you lived today. Things you do come back to you as though they knew the way. Oh, the tricks your mind can play. It seems we stood and talked like this before. We looked at each other in the same way then, but I can't remember where or when. The clothes you're wearing were the clothes you wore. The smile you are smiling, you were smiling then, but I can't remember where or when. Some things that happen for the first time seem to be happening again. And so it seems that we have met before and laughed before and loved before, but who knows where or when? It seems we stood and talked like this before. We looked at each other in the same way then, but I can't remember where or when. The clothes you're wearing are the clothes you wore. The smile you are smiling, you were smiling then, but I can't remember where or when. And so it seems that we have met before and laughed before and loved before, but who knows where or when?
Thank you, Irene. Is that Cole Porter? Who was that?
It's Rogers and Hart.
Rogers and Hart. Wow. Okay. As we acknowledge and receive our virtual and in-person gifts, we give great thanks for offering already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of the one flow. We affirm that we are also a part of that flow. We bless these gifts, and we know that they're multiplied throughout our community. There are a number of folks who have contributed to the production of this service. We are grateful for their service, and we thank you for joining us today. We also would like to thank Sharon White and Vicki Avery for decorating the sanctuary in the social hall. And lastly, stay around in the Zoom meeting after the service to visit or join us in the social hall for coffee and conversation. Please stand and read the benediction with me, followed by the peace song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through the world, into the world, and so it is.